I'm still more, a little bit more interested in the decision process. Not your process. I want to know now. Do you think that this is an essential part of being of Jewish communal leadership and understanding that there's questions like these that are somewhat in the halachic sphere, but are also policy issues. They're also issues that are about reflecting the community and the values of the community.
I suppose it's like a minhag. Like a minhag. There are minhagim, the Gemara says there are. Rashi explains there are minhagim that arose from the community, from the tzibur. So when that minhag arises, the tzibur decides to do something, or they feel that there's something that's worthy of doing. So at that time there may be opposition. These people do it, and those people don't do it. So there's a kind of a tension, but eventually I would imagine there's a drift to things. And the minhag either becomes accepted more universally or more or less universally or not. And that's how public policy is.
There are actors. There are people making active decisions along that way. That not everybody is drifting. So is that the leaders? Is that a responsibility of the leaders?
I don't mean the people. I mean the minhag. The minhag, there's a drift to it. In other words, either more people will accept it, or fewer and fewer people will accept it.
But along the way, there are people deciding to do something before it's the normative act. Along the way, there are people deciding that to me, Talmud Torah means learning Gemara, and that shouldn't be denied to women. That's a person that's deciding that.
He feels
if that is on its way to becoming a normative perspective, it's not necessarily there yet.
Okay, I mean, you could say that, but Talmud Torah is not like, the Rebbe did this or the Rebbe did that. Maybe we should copy it. Something that is, Talmud Torah is something crucial to the Jewish people. I mean, of that there's no doubt. Talmud Torah is a mitzvah that devolves upon everybody. Of that there is also no doubt, including women. The only question seems to be how much effort should be put forth by women to do the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. So my feeling is that if you have women, as we have today, who are developed intellectually, they've gone to university, they have professions that are serious, they run companies, and they are interested in Talmud Torah, then we have an obligation to be supportive of that. I agree that someone could disagree.
I don't.
Okay.
Limiting the conversation to this specific issue, I want to know that, assuming that there's a process of Jewish communal progress that we make, we make choices, we go in directions. Is it relevant? Is it important that the leaders take an active role, and in doing so, have their minds both in the halachic world and in the interests of the community and the viewpoints of the community? Or, I mean, the way you're describing it now as a drift, first of all, it sounds grassroots and it sounds undirected.
I think that people, it's like saying, let's say there's a political question. A question about whether we should build in Yudah v'Shomron or we shouldn't build it. It's like a question. That question has many aspects to it. There's a lot of information that you might have that could go into making that decision. So that's like a public policy decision. You go to the Rabbanim. To me, it seems like, would you go to doctors and ask them that question? You say no. You say they know a lot about medicine, but what do they know about politics? They read the newspapers. That's how they know about politics. Or they have a friend who knows a friend who knows somebody in the... You wouldn't really... I mean, you might have a conversation with the doctor about it, You might over lunch talk about whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It might sound very definitive, but I don't think that you would go to ask people who are ill-informed to make the decision that people who are better informed might be making. I think the same thing is true in these cases about Rabbanim. Rabbanim have opinions, but they don't know. They're not involved in the process because they're doing something else.
But
So you can't trust them. You can't trust them ultimately unless you believe somehow that the Rabbanim are being directed by heaven, and it's hard to make that.
I don't think you need to go to that extreme. You can say that halacha and Torah perspectives are infused in every decision that we make. So, an opinion that is recognizing it as an opinion, but an opinion that is imbued with the weight of also halacha and Torah perspectives, perhaps carries more weight than a doctor's opinion in a non-medical manner.
Let's say this. There's no doubt that it's legitimate for Rabbanim to teach Ahavat Eretz Yisrael. I mean, that's a Torah position. And therefore...
Yeshiva Eretz Yisrael.
Well, also, we're talking about in Eretz Yisrael. If you live in Eretz Yisrael, so you teach Ahavat Eretz Yisrael. Ahavat Eretz Yisrael means, as the Chachamim said, that every dalet amos, every stone, every clump of earth, I mean, all of that is the object of importance. All those things are the subject of importance for Jews who live in Eretz Yisrael and Jews in the entire world. However, if you ask a particular question at a particular moment, should we do this or should we do that? Since there's always an overriding concern of pikuach nefesh, everybody knows that pikuach nefesh, that when the Romans kicked us out of Eretz Yisrael, we left. When the Babylonians kicked us out of Eretz Yisrael, we left. When the Assyrians kicked us out of Eretz Yisrael, we left. We didn't stand there and say, oh, it's Eretz Yisrael, I love every stone, and therefore kill us all, but we're going to die here. No one ever said that. Now, in order to assess the expectation of danger, you need a lot of information. I think, or let me say this, I feel better about turning to the people who have the information, even though they could also be mistaken, as they have been in history many times. But I would rather turn to the people who have the information than turn to the people who don't have the information. So on the one hand, I think that the love for Eretz Yisrael is something that the Rabbanim have, and the Rabbanim have it more than anybody else, certainly more than the generals. But if the question is, are we able to make it, and you have to make a reasonable decision about that question, then I would say that the question should go to the people who are best informed, who live that question all the time.